I arrived in Ravens Hollow on October 30th, a small, forgotten town tucked between forested hills and fog-covered lakes. My editor sent me to write a human interest piece about small-town Halloween traditions. Photos, quotes, nostalgia. But when I drove down the single main road that cut through town, something immediately felt wrong. There were no decorations. No pumpkins on porches, no cobwebs in windows, no orange lights. Just pale, colorless houses staring back at me like empty faces. I parked outside the local diner, the Hollow Stop. Inside, it smelled of burnt coffee and silence. After noon, I said to the waitress behind the counter. She looked about 60, with a tired smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Name's Carter. I'm here doing a Halloween feature. Mind if I ask a few?" Her hand froze mid-wipe on a glass. "Halloween," she repeated softly. The man sitting in the corner, the only other customer, looked up from his newspaper. "You're a day early," he said, voice flat. I smiled politely. That's the idea. They exchanged a glance, the kind that says outsider. Finally, the waitress shook her head. "We don't celebrate that anymore." At first, I thought she was joking. "Really? Whole town? Whole county?" the man muttered. "Ain't been one in 20 years. "Why not?" He didn't answer. He just folded his newspaper and left without another word. When I pressed the waitress again, she sighed. "We don't talk about it, sir. Not since the fog." The fog. She nodded once. Halloween night, 2004. It rolled in after sundown, thick as smoke. Kids went trick-or-treating, never came back. 22 of them. Her voice cracked, just slightly. Next morning, the fog was gone. So were they. No footprints. No nothing. Outside, the air had turned cold. The sky was a dull gray, the kind that looked painted on. I walked down the main street, snapping photos for my article. Every shuttered shop had its windows covered in old newspapers. At the edge of town, I found one house that didn't match. Bright orange lights framed the porch. A carved pumpkin sat by the door, grinning too wide. Wind chimes made from tiny bones clinked in the cold air. A handwritten sign hung on the fence. "Happy Halloween, trick-or-treaters. Welcome." Finally, I thought, someone still had the spirit. I walked up and knocked. After a moment, a woman opened the door. Mid-30s, pale, dressed in black like she'd stepped out of a Halloween postcard. "Trick or treat," she said with a smile. I laughed nervously. "Reporter, actually. Carter Hayes. I'm doing a piece on local Halloween customs, and your house is the only one in town." That her smile faltered. "You shouldn't be here." "What do you mean?" She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "If they see the lights, they'll come back. The kids." She looked past me into the street. The ones that took them. Before I could ask anything else, she grabbed my wrist. Hand was ice-cold. "If you stay in town tomorrow night, don't open your door for anyone, no matter what you hear. Promise me, ma'am." "I don't." She slammed the door. Back at the motel, the clerk gave me a look when I asked about her. "Oh, you met Miss Corbin," he said. She's the only one who still puts up decorations every year. Like she's daring the fog to come back. Why does she do it? He shrugged. Her boy was one of the 22. Outside, the wind picked up, carrying the faint smell of burning leaves. That night, I wrote my notes by the window. The town was dark, every porch light off, except one. Miss Corbin's house glowed orange in the distance, flickering like a lone ember in a sea of black. And then I saw it. The fog rolling in from the woods, pale and heavy, curling between houses, moving fast. I raised my camera, zooming in through the lens. Something moved in that fog, shapes, small and twitching. Children, their outlines flickered in and out, their costumes torn and faces pale as wax. And just before my camera died, I swear one of them turned toward me and smiled. By sunset on October 31st, Ravens Hollow felt like a graveyard. Every door was locked. Every curtain was drawn. Not a single light glowed in the windows. Even the air felt wrong, too still, too quiet, like the town was holding its breath. I stepped outside the motel with my recorder and camera. The journalist in me desperate to document whatever tradition this was. But deep down, something cold was sitting behind my ribs. The kind of fear that feels instinctive, not logical. The streets were empty, save for the whisper of dead leaves. I followed the sound of wind until I reached Main Street, where the fog was already creeping in. Low and pale, like smoke rising from the earth. It wasn't natural fog, okay. It moved with purpose. At the end of the street, Miss Corbin's house still shone bright, glowing orange through the mist. The porch pumpkin's smile had melted, sagging into a grimace. I pushed through the fog and knocked again. No answer. The door creaked open on its own. Inside, candles flickered along the walls, their flames trembling like they were afraid. The air smelled like wax and rot. Miss Corbin, I called. No response. Okay. I stepped deeper inside, my flashlight slicing through the darkness. And then I saw it. The living room wall, covered in children's drawings. Pumpkins, ghosts, candy bags. And under each one, a name. Evan, Lucy, Harper, Jonah. 22 names in total. Pinned above them was a single photo, a group of kids in Halloween costumes, all smiling on a foggy night. The same fog that now pressed against her window. I felt the floorboards tremble under my boots. Then a sound, faint, rhythmic, came from the basement below. Thump, thump, thump. I followed the noise to a door half hidden behind a curtain. A lock hung loose, broken long ago. The smell hit first, damp and sour, like mold and old rainwater. I descended the stairs, one slow step at a time. Candles burned down there too, their wax pooling into strange symbols on the concrete floor. In the center stood a circle of children's masks, neatly arranged ghosts, skeletons, witches, all facing inward. And inside that circle is a small, unopened Trick Fort treat bag. Something rustled behind me. I spun, flashlight trembling, and saw Miss Corbin standing in the corner, her face pale and wet with tears. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered. "What is this?" I demanded. "They come for what was taken," she said. "Every year, the fog looks for replacements. Replacements for the ones it lost." Her eyes were wide, hollow. "You don't understand. The fog isn't weather. It's hungry. It remembers the taste of children's laughter, and when it can't find any, it takes what it can." I took a step back. "You're saying the fog is alive?" She nodded once. "Eh? And tonight, it's early." Suddenly, the window upstairs shattered. A cold gust swept through the house, snuffing out the candles. We froze. From the stairwell, I saw it white mist pouring down like liquid, spilling across the floor. Inside the fog, shapes flickered, small figures twitching, dragging. Children, but their faces weren't human anymore. Smooth, pale, with black holes where eyes should have been. One stepped into the candlelight, clutching a candy bucket. Smiled, teeth small and sharp. "Trick or treat," it whispered. Miss Corbin screamed, "Run." I bolted up the stairs, but the fog was faster. It licked at my heels, icy and alive. Every door I passed slammed shut on its own, forcing me down the hall toward the front door. When I finally burst outside, the street was gone. Nothing but fog, thick and endless. Somewhere in the white, I heard children laughing, then faintly Miss Corbin's voice screaming my name. I didn't stop running until I reached the motel. The lights inside flickered violently. The clerk was standing behind the counter, staring at the TV static hissing across the screen. "Where have you been?" he whispered. "The fog, it's here." I gasped. "It's real." He shook his head slowly. "It always comes back. Same night. Same hour." Then he looked up at me, and I realized something horrifying. His eyes were white, not rolled back. "Empty. You shouldn't have stayed," he said. "Now it knows your name." And outside, through the motel window, the fog pressed up against the glass, spelling something in its breath. "Carter." The motel room was ice cold. Even with the heater on full blast, my breath still came out in pale mist. I sat at the desk, replaying the voice message ID recorded in Miss Corbin's basement. But all I heard was static. And faintly, under it, children giggling. Not like a memory. Like they were right there, just behind the sound. Every time I tried to skip ahead, the recording glitched, the laughter growing louder until the speakers burst into white noise. I slammed my laptop shut and glanced out the window. The fog still pressed against the glass like a living thing. It wasn't just hanging in the air anymore. It was breathing, pulsing softly as if it had a heartbeat. And every few seconds, I could swear I saw faces forming in it, small, pale, and watching. The clerk's room was 2 doors down. I needed answers. When I knocked, he didn't answer. The door creaked open by itself, revealing the smell of damp carpet and something metallic underneath. Blood. He sat slumped in the chair, eyes open but hollow. A note was pinned to his shirt with a rusty nail. "Don't speak their names." The walls were covered in old newspaper clippings, yellowed and curling at the corners. I scanned them one by one. 22 children vanished during Halloween parade, Town blames freak fog. Ravens Hollow bans tri-court treating after tragedy. Annual fog returns. Locals lock doors. Light candles. Every headline circled the same date, October 31st, 1987. The photo on one of them showed the same group of kids from Miss Corbin's wall, all smiling. And right in the center was a small boy in a red cape. The caption read, "Carter James, age 7. My stomach dropped. That was my name." I stumbled back, the room spinning. That couldn't be right. My family never lived here. I'd never even heard of Ravens Hollow before this assignment. But the more I stared at that face, the freckles, the haircut, the more it looked like me. A shiver crawled up my spine. I felt something shift in my head, like a lock clicking open after years of rust. Memories started bleeding in. A foggy night, laughter, candy buckets, and then screaming. I dropped the clipping and ran. Outside, the fog had thickened. Streetlights were gone. Houses were gone. Even the sound of crickets had vanished. The only thing I could hear was the faint crunch of footsteps, too light to be mine. "Who's there?" I shouted, my voice cracking. No answer. Just more footsteps, closer now, circling me. Then a whisper, soft and high, almost playful. "You came back, Carter." I turned, flashlight trembling. The beam cut through the mist, and there they were. Children. Dozens of them, their faces half-formed, skin the color of smoke. Their eyes were deep black holes that swallowed the light. Each one carried a trick-or-treat bag, rotten and dripping. And they were all smiling. What do you want from me?" I stammered. A small girl in a witch hat stepped forward, her voice barely more than a sigh. "You promised we'd never be scared again." My head spun. No, I didn't." She tilted her head. "You forgot. You always forget." The fog swirled tighter, rising to my chest. The cold dug into my skin like needles. Behind them, shapes began to emerge. Adults, motionless, with paper masks covering their faces. Miss Corbin was among them, her hands clasped together, lips moving soundlessly. "They remember," she whispered. "They always remember." I stumbled backward, tripping over the curb. "Why me?" "You started it," one boy said, his candy bucket swung in slow arcs. "You called the fog." The mist pulsed once like the town itself exhaled, and everything changed. The pavement beneath me melted into cobblestone. The dead street turned into a parade, glowing with orange lanterns and flickering lights. Children ran past laughing, their faces whole again. Music echoed from unseen speakers. The smell of caramel apples filled the air. It was Halloween night, but frozen, looping, a ghost memory replaying forever. I saw him again, the boy in the red cape. Me. He was laughing, tossing candy, looking up at a sky that bled fog instead of stars. "Eat them," a voice whispered from behind me, deep, hollow, endless. The ones who forget are always the first to return. I turned, and the fog swallowed the world in white. When I opened my eyes, I was standing in front of the Ravens Hollow Motel again. The sign flickered, and everything was back to silence. Only now, my reflection in the window wasn't mine. It was the boy in the cape. He smiled, and my breath fogged the glass. Then, in the mist, I saw the words appear again, scratched from the inside out. "Welcome back, Carter." The fog didn't fade this time. It lingered thick, shimmering like something alive. Every breath I took tasted of ash and sugar, like burnt candy. Behind me, the motel lights flickered once, then went dark. Only the sign above buzzed faintly, Ravens Hollow INN vacancy, except now the word vacancy had changed. The letters glowed red, rearranging themselves until they spelled Halloween. I ran toward Main Street, flashlights slicing through the fog. The town had changed again, not destroyed, not modern, just old. Every window glowed with orange candlelight. Pumpkins lined the curbs. Paper ghosts dangled from trees, swaying gently. It was Halloween night, forever trapped in time. From somewhere ahead came the faint sound of a parade, drums, laughter, bells. I followed it, each step heavier than the last. The air hummed like static. My ears rang, and then I saw them, the children, the 22, marching in a circle through the fog. Their costumes were tattered now, their faces pale, their eyes faintly glowing orange. At the front of the procession stood the boy in the red cape. Me. He turned slowly, smiling in a way that made my stomach twist. "You came home," he said. I tried to speak, but my voice caught. "What? What are you?" He tilted his head. "You forgot. You always forget. Every year, the town buries it deeper. The adults pretend, and the fog forgives. Till you came back." I didn't come back. I shouted. I was never here. He laughed softly. "You were the first one it touched. The one who told us to follow the lights. You opened the fog." My heart pounded. "That's impossible." I was 7 years old. He took a step closer, the air frosting between us. "Children don't forget evil, Carter. Only grown-ups do." Behind him, the others stopped marching. Their voices rose together, whispering the same thing over and over. "Don't forget us. Don't forget us. Don't forget us." Miss Corbin appeared at the edge of the street. She looked older now, half transparent, her candle flickering low. "It wasn't your fault," she said softly. "You were just a child." I turned to her. "What happened that night?" Her eyes shimmered. "You all went trick-or-treating in the fog. The town said it was safe. They always say that, but the fog takes what it wants. When it rose, the children never came back. Except you." My knees weakened, so I survived. "No," she whispered. "You forgot." The fog pulsed again. The buildings warped, colors bleeding into gray. The boy in the cape grinned wider. "The fog isn't killing us, Carter. It's keeping us. It wants us to remember." A sound cracked through the mist like a church bell tolling. 1, 2, 3. Each ring echoed deeper than sound. It vibrated through my bones. The children froze. Their heads turned toward the sound. "It's time," Miss Corbin whispered. "The last Halloween." The fog swirled upward, coiling like smoke around the street lamps, forming the shape of something enormous, a face. No, many faces, children, adults, all screaming silently within the mist. I stumbled backward as the voice of the fog filled the air, booming yet whispering all at once. "We remember you, Carter. You belong to us." "No," I screamed. "I'm not one of you." The boy in the cape reached out his hand. "You are now." The fog rushed toward me like a wave. My flashlight burst, plunging everything into flickering orange. I felt cold fingers grip my arms, my chest, my throat. Voices filled my head, laughter, screams, chanting. Memories I didn't want. Pumpkin carving, candy, a night that never ended. When I opened my eyes again, I was standing at the edge of town. The fog was gone. The sky was pale morning gray. The houses were quiet, windows boarded, streets empty. I stumbled toward the welcome sign. Ravens Hollow population, 221, except someone had scratched out the last number. Now it read 222. I looked down and saw what I was holding, a small plastic pumpkin pail. Inside it, one single piece of candy. A note was wrapped around it. "Don't forget this time." The wind shifted behind me, carrying the faintest echo of laughter, children's laughter. And when I turned to look at my reflection in the sign, it wasn't me. It was the boy in the cape, smiling. That was the last Halloween anyone remembered in Ravens Hollow. The town still stands, quiet, empty, waiting for someone else to forget, right? And when they do, the fog will rise again. Because some traditions refuse to die. The end.